Welcome back to Russian Cars and Tank. Today we are going to talk about one of the most famous and respected Soviet tanks of World War II, the KV-1 heavy tank. If you enjoy learning about Russian tanks and history, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Russian Cars and Tank, because we bring you powerful stories about the machines that shaped history. The KV-1 was not just another tank. It was a symbol of Soviet strength and determination in the darkest days of the war. It was named after Kliment Voroshilov, a Soviet military commander and politician. When it first appeared in 1939 and 1940, the KV-1 was considered almost unbeatable. At that time, most German tanks were light and medium, like the Panzer II and Panzer III, armed with small guns and thin armor. The KV-1, on the other hand, had very thick armor, up to 90 mm, and it carried a powerful 76.2 mm gun. This made it a nightmare for the German army when Operation Barbarossa began in 1941. Imagine being a German tank crewman in 1941. You are used to fighting weakly armored tanks from Poland or France, and suddenly you meet the KV-1. Your gun cannot penetrate its armor. Your shells bounce off like stones on steel. The KV-1 could withstand direct fire from almost everything the Germans had at that time. Even the famous 37 mm German anti-tank gun, known as the door knocker, was useless against it. Entire German units reported that they had to bring in heavy artillery or the 88 mm anti-aircraft gun to deal with the KV-1. That shows how strong and terrifying this Soviet tank was on the battlefield. The design of the KV-1 was focused on heavy armor. Soviet engineers believed that if they built a tank that could not be destroyed easily, it would dominate the battlefield. They were right in the beginning. The KV-1 was almost invincible during the first months of the German invasion. There are many stories from that time of single KV-1 tanks stopping entire German columns. In one famous battle in 1941, a lone KV-1 near the town of Raseiniai in Lithuania held off a whole German division for a full day, destroying dozens of vehicles and delaying their advance. The Germans had to bring in engineers, explosives, and heavy guns just to disable it. That kind of heroism made the KV-1 legendary. However, the KV-1 was not perfect. Its heavy armor made it slow and difficult to maneuver. The tank weighed around 45 tons, which was extremely heavy for that time. Its engine struggled to move it, especially in mud or snow, which are very common in Russia. The transmission and suspension often broke down, and Soviet mechanics had a hard time repairing it in the field. The crew inside also suffered because the interior was cramped and visibility was poor. These weaknesses became more serious as the war went on, because Germany quickly learned how to fight against the KV-1. By 1942, the Germans introduced new tanks like the Panzer IV with long barrel guns, and later the deadly Tiger and Panther tanks. These new machines could finally penetrate the KV-1's armor. The 88 mm gun of the Tiger could destroy a KV-1 from long range, while the KV's 76.2 mm gun struggled against the Tiger's thick armor. This meant the days of the KV-1's invincibility were over. The Soviet Union had to move on to newer designs, like the KV-85, IS-1, and most famously the T-34, which became the true workhorse of the Red Army. But even if the KV-1 was eventually outclassed, it still played a very important role in the war. In the critical year of 1941, when the Soviet Union was fighting for survival, the KV-1 helped slow down the German advance. Its thick armor and strong gun gave Soviet soldiers hope and allowed them to regroup and fight back. Without the KV-1, the early battles on the Eastern Front might have gone even worse for the Soviets. The KV-1 went through several versions during its service. The early